Hello? Hello, ma'am?
Hello. Yeah, hello. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Yeah, tell me. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah, okay. So let's wait for some more time and then we can start.
Hello?
Yeah, Rakesh, you are audible.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. You are audible, Rakesh.
Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Rakesh.
Yeah, you are audible. We are audible to you, right? I think there is some issue with your audio. So if you want, you can rejoin the meeting.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, it was my issue from my audio issue.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding the week 5 lab assignment. Can I ask that?
So lab assignment, we can handle it at last. Is it okay?
No, it's a small doubt. It will just take 1 minute, less than 1 minute.
Yeah, okay. Then go
Uh,
ahead.
Ma'am, there was a statement in the the problem statement. It says within Angular bracket int colon student ID. So we have to pass this within from the within the anchor tag, right?
Uh, 1 minute. Let me open that folder first, and then I can understand what you are saying exactly. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Tell me.
Yes, ma'am. The within Angular bracket the int colon student ID. So it is not throwing any error when I'm putting this in the routing string. So
Uh,
that is okay. But in the
which point
HTML,
you are asking about? Uh,
uh,
point number.
the page number 4.
Page number 4. Okay. So yeah. Now tell me what you are asking about.
Okay, page number 4 or the last line of page number 3. Uh,
Page number
the
3, last line. Yeah. Okay. Form action.
yeah yeah form action that thing the int student id that if I can put in the routing string then it is not throwing any error, but in that case it is marking red, like angular bracket is some other meaning, so it is showing error. So if I do this using the jinja function within double curly brackets, uh, then how can the integer constraint be maintained?
So you are talking about that you want to use that Jinja syntax in this route only, right?
No, within route it is okay. Within route it is not throwing an error because the syntax that is we can put angular brackets, but in the HTML form within string,
Okay,
it is
okay,
not
inform.
supporting the yeah, it is not supporting the angular starting bracket, angular bracket within the string.
So yeah, yeah. So you are talking about in the form itself. If you want to use that route, that is student ID, you want to use that
Yes, I want to use
private
that
one.
variable in the form.
Okay. So yeah. So what is the issue?
So I was first I was thinking that how can I do that, but then I put the Jinja double curly braces, and it can render the value, but the problem statement is saying integer student ID. So how that constraint be maintained, the integer? Is there any other property like attribute I can use?
No, no. As far as I know, there is no any attribute in Jinja to specify any kind of integer if you're talking about integer. So you can use
Okay,
that
then is the
syntax.
double curly braces can only the double curly braces handle that, or I have to do something
No, no. In
specific?
Jinja, we have only three of kind of syntax, right? One for loops and one for variables and other for statements and comments kind of thing. So there is no any kind of syntax which specify the data types. As far as I know, so you can use it simply in your form. Hello.
Yes, ma'am, I will try that.
Yeah, yeah. You can try that, and if any issue, you can post it on Discord.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So I think we are in position to start the session. So once again, very good morning to all of you. So as you know that on Wednesday we have our activity practice session. So that session is taken by Abhishek and others mainly, basically for that SQL alchemy part. So we shifted that basically for today. So in today's session, if anyone wants to ask any kind of queries regarding any kind of query they had encountered in that activity practice section, you can ask it. And yeah, so that's it. So is there any issue, yeah, or any concept? As you all have that two of your session on the Wednesday and on the Friday, both are just dependent on that SQL alchemy part, how to integrate your database with your Flask application and all that. So apart from that, if someone is facing any kind of issue, problem solving that section, so this session is basically designed in that way. So yeah, you can ask it. You can also post it on chat if you are unable to speak. Yeah, so anyone have to ask something about any kind of concept or any question they find confusing thing. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, so someone, okay, Rakesh, you can explain the RESTful API part. Yeah, okay, so okay, let me explain that part only. If you and in between, if you find anything confusing or any question you find that you have to ask it, so you can unmute and ask. Apart from that, you can also write it on chat. So yeah, see, if I talk about RESTful API, okay, so before going into the RESTful, So see, we had to know about what is an API. Okay, so see, in order to become any API RESTful, we have many criteria and many constant, right? So before going into that how to become how to make an API RESTful and this kind of thing, I just want to give a short overview of what an API is. Okay. Okay, am I audible? If I
Yes,
am
ma'am.
audible, then okay. So yeah. So see, someone has asked me that what is RESTful API. So if I talk about API, as you all know, some of the things are related. What is API and such kind of thing. Okay, so API is nothing but application programming interface. So here in this session, I think some of the student had covered all the concept regarding API, and they know that what exactly is a API. But I think some of the student have already have some things which are not cleared and which they find confusing about API. So see, if I talk about API, API is application programming interface. As the name suggests, there is a kind of thing, interface. Okay, in this word only we have a term which is interface. So if I talk about API, API is everywhere. APIs are everywhere. Each time you are using any kind of app like Facebook, weather app, any Google, Tinder. If I talk about Tinder on your phone as well as on your desktop, you are using that API. For example, if you go to yahoo.com, okay, if you go to any kind of application, let's say if you go to Facebook or if you go to Yahoo, you can notice that at some part of the web page you can notice that a weather section. Okay, they are you can see that the current location of your uh, current location, you can see the weather forecast of your location. So let's say you how does that happen? Okay, this is one question. So another aspect is that let's say you are creating your own application, okay, and you want some kind of functionality like that. Okay, this kind of functionality that my application also had some section which forecast the weather condition, such kind of thing. Okay, so how would you do that? So it is possible. Is it possible to go city by city and just encountering that what is the weather condition of that place? What is the weather condition of that city? So it is not possible, right? It is not possible to detect each and every weather location by your own and just going to that place to place and uh, uh, collecting that weather data, right? So here we can here so where do we get this data, this kind of data, where do we get that? So for this we can use a weather data service. For example, if you go to an open weathermap.com, this is a site or website you can use, and you can see that their job is basically to collect those pieces of data. Okay, they are a kind of a big server. Okay, they had a big server, and they're basically they are focusing on collecting these pieces of data from the different part of your city and organize it and do all kind of functionality in order to forecast the weather. Okay, so now what we have to do is we just have to use their API. Okay, so let's take one more example. This is a one aspect that if you want any kind of functionality from any other application, we can use their API simply. If I talk about some more examples, if it is not clear enough, so let's say you are familiar with the process of searching hotels, okay, online, searching hotels online, searching yeah, for example, you have many websites that is doing these things for us. So let us imagine that you have to book a room from from some particular hotel website, online booking website, and you choose you fill that form. You choose in date, out date, time, as well as other variables which are required in that form only. So in order to book your flight, you are interacting with you interact with the hotel website to access their database and can confirm. Okay. So however, if you are not using the hotel website and just using an online hotel service, if I talk about goibibo.com, trivago.com, makemytrip.com, these are nothing but the online hotel booking website. So you are not going to any particular or specific hotel booking website. We are just going to a website which had a collective database which have data which collects all the information about all the hotels in the city. Okay, so this is such kind of online website. If I talk about makemytrip.com, so you can see and you can notice that many hotels and many kind of sites you can find on that. But if you are if you are going to an site which is particular to a hotel, okay, so in this case we are not doing that. We are just going to an online booking website and we are using the service. Okay, so they simply what they do, they simply collects data about the available hotels and available rooms from number of places. And so what they are using the APIs of that particular hotel website. Okay, so let's say we talk about let's say one more example in order to understand API much more clearly. Now if you go to Tinder, you all are very familiar with this website. Okay, Tinder. So in below each profile, okay, in below each profile, yeah, I can see some chats tracking my trainer. Yeah. So see, if you go to that particular website Tinder, and you if you have your profile on that page, you can notice a section called share friends. Okay, you can so you can notice a section called share friends, and many more section are there. Okay, so how does this happening? How does Tinder know that the person who are viewing your profile, and how this kind of thing are happening? How they can tell you your who are your share friends? Okay, so this is happening due to some specific criteria. So when a user log in with Facebook, okay, when you log in into your application, Tinder application, they will give you a option of logging in with Facebook, logging in with Google, this kind of thing. So if you log in with Facebook and you have a profile on Facebook also, so what Tinder application do? Tinder application is able to ask Facebook application for this piece of data, right, regarding the particular user. So after that, Tinder will use that particular piece of data from Facebook, and what they do, they populate this kind of personalized section for you. Okay, and it is able to do that through the use of Facebook API. So API is a software, intermediary software that allows two application or two servers to talk to each other. So in this case, we saw that application, Facebook application is interacting with the server application. Sorry, Tinder application is interacting with the Facebook application with the help of the API. So one more thing. This is one aspect, that what is a API. API is how API is used, right? So see, in simple terms, API is nothing but a software that contains command, function, all kind of thing, and used to interact with an external system. So let's assume that you are going to a restaurant, and suppose one chef comes and gives you a menu card. Okay, menu card, and of the particular restaurant, the restaurant you are going, they are giving you a menu card. For example, in that menu card, you can see some kind of stuffs like pizzas, cake, Maggie, rice, curry. This kind of thing are written on the menu card. Okay, but suppose you don't look on the menu card and just directly want to go to their kitchen. Instead of just seeing their menu card, you want to go to their kitchen. Now in their kitchen you found loads of ingredients, right? So many things that are not in the menu. You can also see sauces, you can also see spices, you can see many kind of stuff that are not present in the menu card. Okay, so now suppose you are started eating things randomly from that kitchen only. Okay, you are not sitting on your couch and not seeing on the menu card. You are just entered into the kitchen and started randomly started eating and picking something from there. Okay, so my question is that, do the chefs present over there, or do the people who own that hotel will like that this kind of activity or not? Of course they surely don't like this kind of thing. Okay, because there are certain things they sell. Okay, they want to sell and let you buy, and some things they don't want to sell you. Okay, so if we relate this condition this with the data, let's consider the client as a one application, client as a one application, and the kitchen as a another application. So for every application, it has some own data. Like for example, Tinder has data of their user, Facebook has data of their user. So every application has certain piece of data that they will allow you to access. Okay, for example, Facebook has some kind of data, some pieces of data that they want to give access to other application also, and some data are also there that they don't want to expose to the other application also. So here the main focus is every application is certain piece of data that they will allow you to access, but there are not some data which are not for public use or use of other application. They are not available for the other businesses, and no one is allowed to access them. So how can an application will tell another application which data to access and which not to? So if, for example, in this case of restaurant, it provides you the information regarding the regarding the food in the form of menu card, right? So in this restaurant, you can buy only the things which are written on that menu card, and you cannot allow to go to their kitchen or order any things which are not on the menu card. The chef, the waiter just simply tell you that, sir, we don't have that food which you have ordered, so you can only allow to buy only the things which are on menu card. So similarly, in case of if you talk about the case of weather API, like which I am telling you, that openweathermap.com, they provide information like weather image, the wind image, the pressure, the humidity, the temperature, etc. So these are the particular things they want you to they want some other application to access. So in an API, it is a kind of contract. It is a kind of contract provided by one piece of software to another piece of software. It's a contract between data provider and the developer. And basically what it says that there are all the things. These are the things that you want, that we want you to access, and you are not allowed to access other data apart from this. So if we think about that, if you go back to the Tinder application, where Tinder was getting data from Facebook, to populate the shared friend section. Here Tinder is using the Facebook API and to interact with the Facebook database. And we are not fetching all the data. Your Facebook will not giving all kind of data to Tinder. Okay, all the database, they are not exposing their whole database to the Tinder application. They are just giving some functionality to them, and that's it. Okay, so yeah, this is all about what is an API. For let's say one more situation I'm giving you. Let's say you want to build a software application. Okay, and application for, suppose you want to design a website for calculating things. Okay, calculating a calculator kind of application. Okay, so let's suppose you have a friend that has already developed and deployed an application, the same kind of application, some kind of application which has some functionality. Okay, same stuff, that having all the login option, menu card, yeah, all the kind of all the information that you want also in your application. So in this case, you don't have to bother about writing the whole source code, right? You can ask him for some of the software components, some of the source code. But what if your friend doesn't want to share you the whole source code? Okay, I'm just telling the situation that if you are asking him about the whole source code, whole application of the source code of the whole application, so what does he do in that case? If in case your friend is not wanted to share this source code with you, in this case, one way is to make an API for the particular section that you are asking for, and he want you to access that only, and give what they do. They give you a endpoint. They give you a endpoint to you, and now this what they give you, it's basically called endpoint. So what is an endpoint? Endpoint is nothing but a URL through which you can use an API. So API, any API can be accessed using through an endpoint. So every API that interacts with an external system will have a endpoint. So yeah, so this is all about what is a API, and there are many aspects of API. That what is an API endpoint. If you want to go deeper into that, then you can ask it too. That I'll explain this part also, that what is an endpoint and how is it constructed. This is a very vast topic. So now, for now we just talk about what is an API. Okay, so see, this is all about what is a API. And there are many aspects like API endpoint, API authentication, how we can use a postman for it. Many kind of things we can have a very vast concept, right? This is a very vast concept. So if I talk about RESTful API, that someone has asked that what is an RESTful API. So see, we are talked about API. Now let's talk about here what is a REST API or RESTful API. Okay, so we already know that what is an API and how we can use APIs to how API and how the other application is using can use API, your API. Okay, so now the question arises that what does REST mean? What does it means to make an API RESTful? Okay, so if you talk about REST, so REST is not anything that we usually do on your couch, right? That is not that kind of REST. So this is actually REST stand for representational state transfer. Okay, so in order to understand it, we have to go back to our classic client server architecture. Okay, and this is the architecture that the entire internet, pretty much the whole web is dependent upon or built upon, we can say that. Okay, so what is a client server architecture? As you know, from week one, you had to you have known that what is a client server architecture, what another kind of architectures are. So the client, in client server architecture, what a client makes a request to the server. So what is exactly the client? Well, if you talk about a restaurant, the example that we are taken, example of the restaurant that we had taken. Okay, so the client would be the person who is paying for the meal, who is ordering that food, right? And the server would be the staff of the restaurant. Yeah, in that case, if I talk about in that case, okay. So when our client make a request, for example, I want a pizza, or I want a Maggie. Okay, this kind of thing they wanted requested from the server, and then the server has to check if this kind of thing which the client is asking about, this is something that a restaurant can fulfill or not. If so, they can fulfill the request, that it is okay. But if the client requested something that they didn't have, okay, for example, if they ask for the thing that is not on the menu card, so the server would give you an error code, right? So in our case, it is a classical 404 page not found error. Okay, so a resource doesn't exist. Okay, this kind of error. So now when the client makes that request to the server on the internet, this is done using the HTTP request. As you all know about the HTTP request. If you are talk about the internet, if you are, that is the previous one is the example of one restaurant. So this is the example of an internet. So this is done using the HTTP request. So HTTP, what is an HTTP? So HTTP is nothing but a protocol for transmitting hypermedia documents such as HTML from server to client, or this kind of, they just usually used to establish a communication between client and server. Okay, so it was developed for, basically they designed for communication between the web browser and the web server, this kind of thing. So it follows a classical client server model in which client opening the connection to make the request and then waiting until they receive the response. Okay, so HTTP is, if you talk about HTTP, it is a stateless protocol. It means that the server does not keep any data or state of the client. Okay, and they don't know what kind of things are happening and which request comes first, which request comes last. Every request coming to them is a new request. Okay, so, and this analogy for this, it's kind of like language that you are using to make the request. Okay, if you're saying that I want Maggie, and you are in China, and you have to say it in Chinese, and let's say you have a waiter which is Indian, they know English and Hindi, they don't know Chinese. So how did they communicate to you? So in that case, they also had to know a particular same language in which you are talking. Okay, so this thing HTTP is providing to us. Okay, HTTP basically provide a protocol, or it is a kind of language that both the server and client understands in order to communicate with each other. So now the important point over is that HTTP is only language to speak to the server? No. Another one is that you may know is FTP request, which is the file transfer protocol request. So if so here my motto to say this kind of thing is that if you are using the wrong language, you might not get back the result that you are looking for, right? So now one thing to note over is that all the request all your requests are response going to the internet can be tapped by lot of people. So previously we have talked about HTTP. So if we are talking about the internet and we are talking about the HTTP, so the request and response in HTTP request and HTTP response can be tapped, right, with lots of people. So if you wanted to make it secure, it is a way, right? You had listened about HTTPS. So if you wanted to make it secure, you don't have to be on. Uh, let's say you have to enter some kind of details, card details, bank details. So in that kind of thing, HTTP is not secure. So basically in that context we use HTTPS. Okay, so this is a kind of thing we use in order to secure our data. So now let's say that client has successfully made the request to the server, and this is something that the server can serve. Okay, they understand your language, that what you are telling, you are using HTTP request method. So they sees it, that they validate it is a valid request or not. And instead of giving you a 404 error not found, page not found error, then in that case the server would respond with result of result. Okay, what you want as your result, they would respond in that, like that. So on the internet, in place of menu that we are offering, such Maggie and snacks, that all the things that that are written on that page menu card. So if you talk about internet, that stuffs are nothing but the HTML or resource such as images or data. So in order to give us that result, server might do some of the things. Okay, it might do some computation. So what the server does, run some code to work out the result that you need. For example, the server was a simple calculator, web application, a simple web application, simple web calculator. So in this case, server might need to communicate with the database in order to grab the relevant piece of data. You just not do some computation without knowing what the data is and without fetching the data from the database. So here the database also come into place. So depending on what kind of request that the client made and what kind of resource they wanted, the server might do one this kind of thing. They communicate with the database and then fetch the data and then do some computation on, and then respond to the client. Okay, so we have seen that client has to talk to the server using an HTTP request, a specific language that the server can understand. But also there are some things that server do. For example, in so let's say you're, in case we are basically building an API, what kind of thing you can want to gather. So for example, let me explain you. Now if I talk about what does it mean to make an API RESTful. Okay, well, this is the point. Okay, so when REST come into place, well, REST is essentially just an architectural style. It is just an architectural style. So just as you have a different type of buildings, right? If you talk about building styles, you can see, if you go to that village area, you can see that houses are built up of mud and bamboos. And if you go to those cities, you can notice the house are built up to concrete and sand, this kind of thing. So REST in nothing but a architecture style. So these are architecture styles for a particular building, right? Okay, but REST is architecture style for designing APIs. Okay, and it's definitely not only the architecture style. There are many various architecture style with us also, like SOAP, GraphQL, this kind of thing. But the REST is the most popular among all. Okay, apart from the REST, we have many architecture style for designing APIs in context of APIs, but we use here we are using REST. So REST was it basically proposes a set of rules that web developers could follow in order to build their APIs. Okay, so and basically the founder of that REST analogy, which is Roy Fielding, he wanted that all website across the web, across the internet, would use the same structure for building their API. So what exactly do we have to do in order to make our API RESTful? There are some set of rules that an API should follow in order to be RESTful, right? So let me share my screen and can give you some overview of that.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that part? That what things make an API RESTful?
So just I'm giving you the examples. I'm not. I have not started yet. I've just told you that what is REST. What do you mean by REST? REST is just an architectural style. It is just a set of rules. So the founder of the REST, okay, had defined some of the common rules for designing an API, such that the developers should be following in order to make their API RESTful. And what are those? What are those rules? I'm just sharing my screen and just try to.
Yeah.
Give,
Okay.
yeah. Okay. Okay. Give me one minute. So my screen is visible, right? Whiteboard. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So see, there are lot of rules that an API has to follow to be RESTful. So API to become RESTful. So see, first thing is that first and the most important one are using an HTTP request verb. Okay, so using the HTTP request verb. This is the first thing. So using that HTTP request language, and second is a specific to use a specific pattern of routes and endpoints. Okay, so we can't use any routes, any endpoint in order to, if you talk about RESTful APIs, there are some particular specific endpoint that are used in order to, if you talk about RESTful APIs, okay, specific endpoint URLs. So these are the two most important things that we should remember in order to make any API RESTful. So first is the I've talked about HTTP verbs. So what is HTTP verbs? Okay, so they are nothing but the get, put, post, patch, delete. Okay, so these are the HTTP verbs. So these are the five most. If I talk about first point, HTTP verb, verb. Okay, so the five that I had recalled, what? Get, post, put, patch, delete. Okay, these are the five most important and most broadly used HTTP verbs, right? So if we talk about database, we already know what a operations are, right? Operations, CRUD operations: create, read, update. Yeah. These are nothing but the CRUD application. So you know about what are CRUD application and how it is uh, connected to HTTP verbs. So let us say, if I give you some example that how it is connected to HTTP verbs, as we are talking about how to make a API RESTful. So see, one by one we talk about it, right? So first is get. So for example, you are browsing something and you are just trying to read the data. So this is something we can do with the get request, get HTTP request, right? So if in any website, if you are just reading something and reading something for, or you just have to retrieve any kind of data, okay, so that is the get method. Yeah, that is the get method. If you are able to read something, that is the get method. If in any application, if you are trying to create something, let's say, take an example, if you are open an application and you are trying to create your profile, okay, create your profile, this is read. So if I talk about an application, so in the beginning you can notice that they asked you to fill some of kind of data, some kind of form filling things, right? So they ask you to add your profile, create your profile, add your name, phone number, email address to that form, okay? So in that case, here you are trying to create the user, okay, create the user. So this is done by using post. So this is done, sorry, with the post HTTP method. And now, since if you are created your profile, now if you want to update, let's say you had entered some kind of wrong phone number and that kind of thing. So in that case, either a put or patch can be used, okay? So put and patch, both of these HTTP methods are somewhere same. There is a very small and very minute difference between this HTTP method. So see, I'm talking about the mobile number updation, right? In the case of an application that we are talking about. So we update that, we have to update that mobile number. So we can use a put method, HTTP method. We can also use a patch HTTP method. So now suppose, so if I talk about the difference, major difference. So see, put and patch. Put is used to update the resource, right? Patch is also used to update the resource. The main difference is that, for example, let me explain this with the help of an example. Let's say you have ordered any product, right? Any product for Amazon, from Amazon. Let's say you have ordered a pair of shoes from Amazon, and you are just waiting very happily for that order to come. And after the order has come, and you notice that one of the shoes one of the shoes is damaged. That is not that shoe that you wanted, right? You ordered some other kind of shoes, and we have two in a pair of shoe. We have two shoes, right? One pair. So one of the shoes is damaged. So what in this condition, what will you will do? You can call to the Amazon customer care. Okay, so you will tell them that okay, I was ordering I was ordered shoe a pair of shoe, and one of them is damaged. Okay, so what they will tell you that, see ma'am, or see sir, we have two options for that. Either you can replace both of shoe or one pair of shoe, we can replace that for you, or we can only replace that particular shoe which is damaged, and the other shoe which is fine, then you can that is fine, that is not the problem. Okay, the another shoe we can update that only. So the Amazon will give you two options, right? Either both shoes will replace, or only one shoe will replace which is damaged. So see, if we talk about put and patch, this is a minute difference. Put is a HTTP method used to update the resource. This in if we update this source completely, right? This is the, if we talk about the relation, this is something that we can relate to put. And if a patch is nothing but updating a particular resource, particular part of resource, and not updating the whole resource, right? Okay, so this is nothing but the patch. So in patch, we only update those pieces of resources that needs to be updated. But in put, we update the whole resource. Okay, so this is the major difference between the put and patch. So this is the third. Okay, let me write here. Fourth. This is for updation. And last one is simple, right? Now suppose you want to you are using an application, you don't like that application, and you want to come out of that application. How do you do that? You can simply delete your profile, right? So for this purpose, you can use delete HTTP method. This is HTTP. Okay, so this can be done using HTTP delete method. So this was just the overview of HTTP method. Okay, so this is the first thing. These are the, yeah, put, patch, delete. Okay, all the things are covered. Yeah, all the HTTP verbs are covered. Now let's talk about the second thing. What was the second thing? Second thing is to use a specific pattern of routes and, yeah, specific pattern of routes and endpoint URL. This is the second one. This is completed. So let me clear my screen first in order to explain this. Up to here, is there any doubt regarding this concept? Up to here.
Ma'am, I want to ask, like, what is the difference between post and put? Because we have been doing day before yesterday or day before yesterday. I think yesterday's session, sir told us to like update something in the database, and we did that using the post method.
Okay, so yeah, so post method and put method, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so see, let me clear. Okay, I had cleared. That pen comes. Let me stop sharing and then I can. Where do I find that pen? I don't know. Okay, let me stop sharing and sharing, please. Okay. Yeah, so put and post, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Put and post. See, as far as I can tell you, one basic difference is that put is used to create. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. Put is used to update, and post it used to create and update. So you were talking that in the previous session, sir is using post for updation, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So see, this is the basic difference. You know that put is for update, and and post is used for creating, right? This is clear, right?
Yes,
How
ma'am.
it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me give you an example. What this problem is. Okay. Give me 1 minute. Okay, I think there is some problem with my vacuum. It is not working.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Hello. Can I tell you in this way only? I don't know why
Sure,
my
sure, sure.
vacuum is not
It's okay.
working.
It's okay,
Yeah.
ma'am. It's okay.
Okay. Okay. So see. Okay. So are you familiar with the basic difference between a get and post?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Get
So what
only
is?
get can only be used to retrieve the data, while post can be used to create and update stuff.
Yeah. So how do we update data in the case of in that case in the post method?
We have to send the data to the server, and then we
How
retrieve
do
the
we
data
how do we sending that thing?
using a form and
Yeah,
a
using
method
a
action
request
equals to, yeah.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah, request body. So
Yes.
yeah, see, the basic purpose of post HTTP method is if you want to if you want to update, okay, if you want to create anything, and if you want to update, this both is done, can be done using a post HTTP method, because we know that request body is inside the HTTP header, right? In the case of the HTTP, in the case of the if you talk about the HTTP header, so it is basically inside the request body, and it is in hidden format. So we always, if you want to update in the case of post, we can do in that way only. Okay, if I am not able to use my vacuum, so if I have to give you an example. So in post method we use URL plus request body. And if you talk about get, if you get, I'm talking about get and post here now. After that, we will go to that put and post. So if you talk about get, so in get, we simply use that URL only. Okay, we send the data through the URL only. So sometimes it is kind of disadvantage to that anyone could see that URL and bookmark it or cache it or change the data on the server side. But in the kind of, if you talk about post, that we are using the URL as well as the request body, and the request body is hidden. No one can tap it, or no one can update any kind of things on the server side. So we simply, what do we do whenever we so in case of post request method, here along with the URL, one more thing is there, which is the request body. And apart from we can send data, send data in that request body. Okay, so here in this body we enter data which we want to send to the server and which we want to update on the server side. Okay, and so in the case, in this way only we can update the data on server. So on input method we only have had to update. Okay, but post is used in both the cases, for creation and updation also. And how it will update the resource on server side, you know very well. I had given you an example that it contains a request body and this kind of thing. So you can use the post as well as the put for updation. And in case of forms, okay, in case of forms, is basically it is creating something on the server side. That's why we are using that post HTTP method. Okay, and for updation also it is used. So I don't get your question very clearly. Can you be more specific that what you had asked? You had asked that why had sir used that post method?
I was just asking, like, what is the purpose of put? Like, we can use the, like, we can update using post as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, why do we need post? Like, why do we need put? Like, does put offer some extra functionality for updating over post, or like both of them have like the same things for post for updating stuff?
So in case of see, in case of form, we are creating something on server side, right? Creating as well as we had to create something on server side. So in this case, specifically, we had to use that post method, right? In
Yes,
case
ma'am.
of form.
Yes, ma'am.
But for updation, you can use post as well as put also, because both these methods do the same things. Okay, we can also use put, or we can also use post for updation. But for creation, it is mandatory to use the post method.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So this
Sonal, can I give some added points over here?
Yeah.
Actually, the difference between put and post is whatever information you are sending through put will be sent through the URL. So, for example, if you want to update your name or anything, any related to that email address, whatever it may be. So if you use a put request, automatically it will send the data through the URL, and it is an idempotent one. The meaning is it will update how many times you are updating that put request. It will do only the same action in the server side. That means first, if it is updated your name, yeah, again, if you are sending the same request, it will do the same. It will not replicate so many number of resources of your name. And but if it is a post request, it will not send the data through the URL. Instead of it, it will send the data as a file, and that file. So it is compared to put, the security will be in post is higher because we are not sending. So you all know, I think the URL SQL injections and all happening through URL link, right? So put will use URL to send the data, but post, what it will do, it will send the request as a file. It will not show any data in the URL. And it is an idempotent. It is not idempotent. The meaning is, for example, if you are sending a updation or creation using post method, how many times you are sending the same updation, it will replicate multiple times in the server. That means it is not creating an one image in the server. So many number of images will be created. How many post requests you are making, for that it will create that many number of images. So that is the major difference, but both are used for updation, as Sonal ma'am said, right? I think I have put some more points here. Thank you, Sonal.
Yes, ma'am. So are you clear with that concept of idempotence, right? Idempotence and what are safe methods?
Yes, ma'am.
Why we are not using that put method? Because it is not safe,
Am I
right?
audible?
As compared to, yeah.
Ma'am, can you repeat the last part ma'am said? The item. What is the
Yeah, I'm
idempotent?
here. So idempotent, the meaning is, for example, you want to change the name in the database in the server. So you are sending an updation request to change the name, right? So what put request will do, even though you are sending the request for 4 or 5 times for the same name updation, it will do only, it will reflect the same in the server. That means it will do only it will check whether the updation is already done for the same name updation. If there is any modification, it will do it. Otherwise, how many, even though you send so many number of requests, it will remains the same for the updation if the value is not changed.
Is it?
For example, if you change the name from Raj to Raju, that is the request you are giving. For example, I'm saying, right? So that and then you are sending the request, change the name to Raju. 4 or 5 requests you have given, but the data is same. You are going to change it into Raju. So only the reflection will be there as Raju in the server side. So
Okay.
it will not.
Is it like the?
Yeah. Tell me.
Is it like the pressing or one button multiple times, that issue?
No, not similar to that. For example, if you are not getting a particular server, what you will do, once again you will give the URL and once again you will give the request, right? For example, if you type www.google.com in the URL, and if you are not able to get the server, once again, if it is showing any error, or if it is showing, if it is keep on loading, what you will do, you will just stop it, and once again you will type the same URL and send the request. That is meaning that you are giving more number of requests to the server. So that is what I have specified. Even though you have specified more number of requests to the same data, it will be updated only once in the server.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that clear? Idempotence, safe. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay. So yes. So I was talking about the second thing that I need to specify to in order to change our API into a RESTful API. So as we talk about the HTTP verbs, so second point was that a specific kind of pattern of a URL or endpoint, right? That we had discussed in that uh, what we are writing on that point, right? Previously. So for that, second point is let's take example of your home. Okay, say let's take an example of your home, and you are going to a marketplace. You want to go to a marketplace, and if you want to buy something from there, there are many paths, right? There are many ways to go to that place. Is that true? Yeah, that is true. Similarly, in case of our server also, we have specified or we had many URLs. We had many endpoint to go to that particular resource or, which is present on the server side. Okay. So if you, for example, if you open your www dot, let me share. Let me try sharing my screen. I think that will work now. Yeah, I think this will work. Let me try writing it down. Yeah, okay. So see, if you open up your www.google.com, which is basically we are going to the Google server. Yeah. .google.com. And let's say from google.com you want to go to an to any particular website. Let's say we want to go to an MDN website. So you will receive some kind of Google web page, right? Going to that particular MDN website, you have to follow some specific URL, right? Specific URL. So, and if you want to go to the W3 school website, you want to follow some other URL in order to go to that particular website, right? This is the thing you all know previously. But in order for an API to be RESTful, we have to a specific pattern. This is nothing. This is just a example I'm giving you that in order to specify any resource and in order to retrieve any resource from the server, we have to take a different path for it. Okay. So in case of API, let's say we are going to in case of an API, let's say, let me give you an example. Data, a bunch of, if let's say we have an API, jokes API. Okay, jokes API. So if you go to that particular website, on the website of jokes API, so we have in that database of jokes API, we had a whole bunch of jokes, right? Whole bunch of jokes. We had many jokes, jokes regarding to humor, jokes regarding to programming, jokes regarding to places, friends, funny jokes. All kind of jokes are present, right? Collectively in the jokes database, jokes API database. Now, let's say we have some endpoint, right? Some endpoint. This is a kind of endpoint applies to all of the jokes. If we specify this particular URI endpoint in your browser, if you type this particular endpoint in your browser, you will find all the jokes, all the kind of jokes. But you don't want all the jokes, right? Let's say you only want particularly jokes regarding programming. See, this is the first aspect, that you want so jokes regarding programming. So let's say if we create a route for jokes that it should fetch, in this case it is fetching all the kind of jokes, right? But if we talk about this, if we want to fetch only the programming jokes, so it will it will follow some specific path or specific rule, and it will have some paths. Okay, you know about path and parameter, right? So it will follow some specific path, and it will follow some specific parameter in order to do so. Let's say we have, this is an endpoint. Let's say that joke endpoint will look something like that programming path. This is a path, right? From here, this is a this is the original URI that the jokes API website is giving to us in order to fetch all the jokes regarding to, their server, or in order to fetch all the jokes from their database. But let's say they had given us a form in which we can select. It is an option to selecting any jokes that is particular to any programming jokes or funny jokes. So they had given us the form. So we can notice thing that as far as we selected that programming jokes, the URI changed, right? This is the additional thing that we had to we will able to see in that jokes API. So but RESTful routing has some kind of rules. Okay, this is not a particular thing, it's just example, but RESTful routing has some rules for individual resources. Okay, so for example, there are many constraints, right? If we talk about the REST constraint, so let me erase something here. Let me can anyone tell me from where that option comes? Pen option, I don't know.
Suddenly it has happened to me also, Sona. Like I don't know how it is tracking. So you just stop presenting and then once again share your screen.
Yeah. Now it is okay.
Yeah.
I don't see any kind of options like that. Okay. So see, let's say we have some constant, okay, REST constant. So we had look over the HTTP verbs. Okay, so it is important to have HTTP verbs in your in order to become any API, the RESTful API. Second is we had to follow some kind of specific path and specific parameter in order to specify a particular source. Okay, so and what are the components in the path and parameter? It is a vast concept. Okay, it is a vast concept that in path and in parameters what we will passing and that kind of thing. There is a concept of API key. Okay, so all of these components apart from the HTTP verbs and apart from the URL, and there are paths, particular paths, specified paths, parameters, API keys, and a definite structure in which if you see those, you can tell, okay, this is a RESTful API. Okay, so second thing is that it is very mandatory to have an API key if you are using any kind of functionality of any other application. If you go to that, let's say we are if you are taking it out of an application of that jokes API, if you go to their website, there is some particular section that they are providing you at their APIs in which you can implement their functionality in the form of API to your application. So they will provide you a API. So you can see the formats of API from there also, that dummy API. So you can notice that there is a particular specified things. Okay, there is a path called API, which is mandatory component of an API endpoint. That is parameters, that there some values. Let's say we have as I talked about, we have a form in that particular API jokes website that wants us to fill that, and they are asking about what kind of jokes you want. So let's say we give the URL information, like we want a joke that is specific to programming. So as the thing, you can see the changes in the URL, right? And they can be seen in the parameters only. You can see in the parameters only, there are something like joke type is equal to programming, and any thing they help they are we are adding on that API, they are all comes back to back in that parameter, separated by an ampersand symbol, right? So yeah, at last we can see that API key is also there. So this is a specific path that API should follow in order to be RESTful. Now, if we talk about REST constant, some of the constant. So REST, what I tell you, REST is nothing but the set of guidelines. Okay, it takes HTTP protocol and applies a few constant to clarify communication between the client and this client and the server. So first constant of REST is the separation of client and server. Client server model. It is an important constant, client server model. So a client, what a client is defined as a machine requesting a resource, and simply server is nothing but the machine that respond with the requested resource. So machine can, let's say we have a client and we have a server. This thing I had noticed in the discourse also. So let me talk upon this also. See, a machine, this is the client requested a resource from server, and server respond, right? This is a request and this is a response. Okay, so a machine can function as a client and as a server. This thing is important. Let's say you are a user and you are sending a request to Tinder application, okay, TA, and this Tinder application is again sending an request to Facebook application. So this Tinder application, for this user, it is acting like a server. Okay, but if we talk about, if it is requesting a piece of resource from Facebook application, in this case, this particular application is acting like a client. Okay, this thing is clear, right? So application can function as a client and as a server, but it has a specific kind of request and response cycle. It must assume that the role, let's say here this cycle, if we talk about request and response cycle, it must assume that the role is either as a provider or acceptor. So here, this is the client, this is the server. Here in this request response cycle, this is a client, this is a server. Okay, so a machine can act as a client and a server, but it depends on the request response cycle also. Okay, so this is a first constant, that it must follow a client server model, and the separation of client and server is important. Second point is that any machine can act as a act as a client, act as a server. Okay, second constant, if we talk about second constant, stateless. Stateless. Okay. This is the second constant. So a RESTful architecture, a REST architecture, it is a very important constant of a REST architecture, which is a stateless. A stateful architecture, remember what a stateful architecture do? It remembers a client's activity between the request. Okay. If you have, let's say, if you have used a website, let's say Amazon website, where you have shopping cart and you have a login session. So in shopping cart, you have some wish list, this kind of things, right? And the login session, you had enter your details, you had enter your name, all the things you have entered, which they have asked you. Okay, so it appears that through the server is remembering any kind of activity. Okay, you are the client and server is what? Amazon application. So from this kind of activity, which is a login activity, and second is that what cart, you can think of that server is remembering your activity, right, throughout the duration of the time of your website. The let's say you had spent 1 hour on that particular website. As long as you are there at that website, all the activity are traced by that application. This is what? Stateful architecture. But a truly RESTful, if you talk about RESTful architecture, however, this is not allowed. There is not allowed to retain information about the state of a machine during a communication process. Okay, so if we draw the diagram, if this is a client and this is the server, and this is a request and response, each request from the client to the server must be treated as though it is the first request and the server has seen for that client for the first time, right? The server should not remember its client and any state. Okay, the client state is not recognized by the server. Server may only give back the information, that particular information, and then it will destroy the information that it had about the client. Okay, so each request is independent. Each request is independent. This is the second constant. This is stateless. Third constant is cacheable. This is the third constant. Okay, so if you talk about cacheable, so see, response messages from the server to the client can be cached. Okay, can be cached or non-cacheable. Cacheable or non-cacheable. Can be cached or cannot be cached. This way, responses can be cached by the client if the information of the server has not changed. This is what I am saying, that this is first point, that information response messages from the client can be cached or cacheable or non-cacheable, and the responses from the server is cached only and only if the information on the server has not changed. If you are requested one resource from the server and that resource is cacheable only if this request has been requested earlier also. If you are sending each and new request to the server, it will not it can't be cacheable, right? It will only cacheable if you, let's say, if you are going to a website, you had entered your details. So every time you go to that website will recognize you. Okay, because the server cached all of your details on their server, and every time you will go to their server, they will recognize you as your client. Okay, and let's say some another client, you log in with your another email, another phone number, and another name. Let's say you are the same person, but you are logging with the another kind of detail, or you are sending an different request to that server. So it will not recognize you that you are same person or different person. It will only see that, okay, this request is I think this is a different request, so they will not recognize you. Okay, so this is cacheable or not cacheable. Okay, so for this uniform interface, sorry, uniform interface, interface. So see, a RESTful architecture must have a uniform interface between all the client and server. What does this mean? For example, okay, I think I have to do one more time. Yeah, okay. So see, what does this mean? For example, a server, let's say we have a server and we have different clients. We have a mobile as a client, we have a laptop as a client, and let's say we have another server as a client also. We have a server. So a server must not require any particular way of accessing data. Let's say if a client is mobile, or if the client is laptop, or if client is server, okay, so it must have identical communication between those. If a particular URL, if a particular endpoint is entered through mobile, particular API endpoint is entered through mobile, it will also give you same resource. If you enter the particular endpoint from the laptop also, it will not see that, okay, this request is coming from a laptop, I will not give you the access. I will only give you an access if you are a server or if you are mobile. No, all the interfaces can have communication, ideal communication with the server, without knowing the state, knowing the device from which it is being requested. Okay, so these are the some points. Okay, so yeah, these are the 4 points which is which we can tell that it is a constant of REST. We had talked about HTTP verbs, we have talked about specific pattern of URLs, we had talked about some constant. It is stateless, it follows an in uniform interface to all of the devices. It is a client server, it follows a client server model. Okay, this kind of thing, these are the important constants, right? So up to this point, if anyone wants to ask any kind of doubt regarding this concept, I'll please ask.
Ma'am, I have a doubt. So what is, I mean, we understand a stateless application. What is a stateful? Can you give an example of stateful application?
So I had given an example, right? I thought, okay, see, it's the stateful architecture. I had given you an example of an Amazon website, right? Let's say you are giving to that going to that website, and you as far as you spend your time on that particular website, and you let's say you had wish listed some stuffs, and you had put in some stuffs in your cart, any kind of thing. If you tell about if I tell you about the login details, okay, login details. If you first time you will log in into that Amazon application, if you go to that Amazon application, it will ask you for your details, right? Your name, your address, your email address, your phone number, this kind of information. So this architecture is basically the stateful architecture in which it remembers the client's information, client details, client's activities. This kind of thing is uh, basically the stateful architecture. Okay, so as long as you are on that website, on that particular server, on the particular Amazon server, as long as you are there, it appears that it is remembering your activity, right, throughout. If let's say it is giving you some ads, okay, it is giving you some ads on the basis of your preferences. You can see all these things happening to your eyes, in front of your if your eyes on that particular website. So how does this all thing are happening? If they are not knowing you and they are not have any information about you, what you like, what you not like, if you are you can notice that if you are wish listing some shoes, right, if you are wish listing some dress for you, particular dress for you, a ad comes in front of you that is very particular to your wish that you had added to your cart, right? It will give you an ad regarding shoes. So how does this is happening? The server is recognizing you, server is knows you, right? Server knows you, that who you are and what kind of thing you like. So this kind of thing is stateful, in which they remembers your activity throughout the duration. And REST does not follow these things. REST, a truly RESTful architecture, is just stateless. Okay, as long as you, for example, if you take an example of a endpoint, REST API endpoint, so it is an endpoint, right? If you okay, this example I'll tell you. Let's say you had requested a server, Tinder server, okay,
Hello.
and yeah, hello.
Ma'am, one thing, when we use the incognito window, then is it cacheable? Like, is the cache stored when we use incognito window?
I think it is not stored. As far as I know, I think it is not stored. History remains stored. Yeah, history, they can see you, the provider, they can see the history of yours, what you are doing and what your activity is. But the application, I think the server in which through which you are connecting, I don't think they can fetch your details, as far as I can tell.
Okay, like ma'am, when we search for something, then what we are doing in, like, suppose Facebook, right? So these kind of things come, like there is a bias. Like I want to search for some particular thing which I do not need require the previous bias. So I need the actual things. Like sometimes what happens that we are doing some part, suppose throughout for 1 week I am searching for shoes, right?
Mhm.
One particular type of shoes. After 1 week, if I search about for shoes, it will fetch that particular price limit, that particular things, right? So many things will be biased, but I do not want a biased result. So then can incognito window help, or what can I use in that situation where the cache or cookies are not like effect? Like how can I get the pure result?
Okay, so yeah,
Is
Can
there
I
any
add?
approach?
yeah. Okay.
See, normally incognito mode is only for private browsing. It is not having anything to do with your online surfing. So in incognito browsing, for example, if you don't want to store all the contents of your history, as well as it will not store the browsing history, as well as it will not store the cache sessions, whatever the things you are doing, that will not be stored. The meaning is it will make you as a private browsing environment. this does not means that whatever you are surfing, so based on your surfing, it will not take any data forwarded to that particular thing, right? So that is represented as incognito mode. So that there is nothing to do with your surfing information with this incognito.
It will also happen in there also. I think incognito also it should.
And one more thing for stateful also, I will specify a specific example. If it is a stateful session, for example, banking transactions all will come under the stateful session. For if you log in into a particular bank online website, and if you kept it for 5 minutes or 4 minutes of inactive, automatically what it will do, if you do any other operation further, it will show that your session is expired. That means from the login of your point, it will maintain the session of you. And if you are not inactive for that particular session, automatically your session created for that particular login will expire, right? So the session maintenance throughout the transaction, either debiting or crediting into the account, or if it has not happened successfully, rolling back to the initial state, everything will come under stateful sessions, right? So stateful is this type of representation, as Sonal ma'am said, right? So you can differentiate between state. So for example, in Amazon also, what example Sonal ma'am told us, you can view whatever items there in the Amazon. So when it has to, it will show you to log in. If you want to purchase something, then only it will pop up to log in, so that only from there it will create a session until you add something to the cart or make the shopping finalized, right? So that is session maintenance. From there it will be stateful. Until then, browsing whatever the newly available items are available, that and all, you no need to sign up. Where you comes into sign up session, automatically your statefulness started there, right? Thank you, Sonal ma'am. You can start.
Yeah. So yeah, Rakesh, is
Yes,
the
yes,
thing
ma'am.
clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So yes. So what I'm talking about, yeah, I think the person who was asking that stateful and stateless, that is clear, right?
Yeah, ma'am, it's all clear. Just one more thing. So as you're talking about sessions, right? So let's say, I mean, because most of these websites nowadays, they keep small sessions where they track user data and everything. So is that a stateful or a stateless architecture? Because most of the websites today are, I mean, they do track everything that we do, right?
Yeah.
So,
See, tracking is different, session maintenance is different. So for session maintenance, what we have discussed already, APIs, right? So APIs are used to make communication between, so it will act as an endpoint. Creating a session between your endpoint and then the API in the server side is represented as a session. Each will so API itself, you know, it consists of sockets. Sockets are nothing but it is a combination of IP address and then the process port number, right? So port number through which it has to communicate. So maintaining all those details is represented as session maintenance, right? So wherever you are having sessions that is taking into part for your transactions or for your login informations, all are coming under stateful. For example, stateful itself, it will what are the states will be available? Either it will be an active state, or it will be a ready state, or it will be a waiting state. Like that only we will have different states in that stateful, right? So to represent like that, the session wherever you are so for example, if you are going to log in, and if your details are ready for a if your details are authenticated and if you are ready for your next step, then automatically after authentication you will be ready to do any so you will be in a ready state. And then while doing some transactions, the bank page itself will say you that do not refresh or do not press any buttons, right? That means it is doing some processing. The server is busy with that processing. Until that, you will be in a waiting state. So if you follow these ready state or waiting state or finished state or starting state, like this, it will have a cycle of states that has to be established. That is known as stateful architecture, right? So it has to maintain all the sessions entirely throughout until you log out from that particular website. From login throughout the logout. Similarly, for bank from login, debit or credit throughout the logout of the session. And if you are not logging out and if you are inactive for a particular time, automatically the session will be expired. That is already created and pre-programmed in the server, right? So to maintain the statefulness. Yes. Do you have any other question? Yeah. Is that clear?
I think
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, okay. Okay, so yeah, we had already discussed 4 points. One more point to add over here is that REST constant has had also something like layered system, right? So very small concept. Suppose it is a user, it is a client A, and this is a server A, and this is a some server, this is a some server, this is Facebook server, this is a Tinder server. So a layered system means that a client can have access. For example, if you, a user is requesting some resource from Tinder, want to see some thing displayed on the Tinder web page, and the Tinder is again requesting from the Facebook application. So this user does not have to so this user don't have to establish communication with this Facebook. Okay, the only thing it can do, it can communicate to the Tinder application. It is not it's the user business to communicate through the Facebook. Okay, so this is this small concept layer system. So this is all about the REST API. What is API? I tell you. What is a REST? I had to tell you. How can we make a API, a RESTful API? These are the constant. Okay, which is important if you are making an API RESTful API. So these are all the things regarding it. So yeah, can we move further, or is anything left in this topic? If anyone want to ask something? Can we move further, or hello? Ma'am, I am audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So see.
Yes, Sonal, you are.
Okay. So this is all about the APIs, RESTful APIs. So yeah, one more question I want to ask from you all that. I can see some questions regarding URI, URL, and URN. So can someone says me what is the basic difference between these three? The URI, URN, and URL. As I can see some questions regarding it, and I thought you were clear about that because no one has asked something about it. So can someone tell me what is the basic difference, or what would be the basic similarities?
URI is the superset, like the entire thing from starting from the HTTP and from up to the index.html, and the query, if there is any query, it will also be part of URI.
So you are talking about URI or URL?
URI, the entire thing it is.
Okay, so yeah. So you are telling that URI is superset of URN and URL, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So Give me one more. Tell me one more thing. That can a URL be a URI? Yeah, only a URI can be a URL.
One URL can be URI, but I think the entire URI we cannot call it URL.
So this is the basic difference, that in the URI we can also have that URL part. Okay, so it is not mandatory to use that HTTP thing there, but in case of URL it is very mandatory to write some schemes there at the front. Whatever schemes you are using, if you are using that HTTP or you are using FTP and mail to, this kind of thing. So these are basic mandatory things which we can expect in a URL. But if you talk about a URI, which is a superset of URL and URN at the same time, so URN does not need any kind of HTTP protocol. Okay, so its syntax is also somewhere very different from an syntax of a URL. So, and if we talk about anything which we are surfing or browsing or we are entering in the address bar of your browser, it is nothing but a URL, because it is referring to a particular source address of that particular source, and not just identifying. Okay, it's just identifying and reaching to the source also. So this is the very basic difference, that URN is just referring to a source. Okay, identifying the source, referring to a source on the internet, but it is not actually specifying its location or existence. It's not doing any kind of thing like that. It is a formal naming scheme, right? It identifies a source, but it doesn't indicate its location. So this is all about URN. And one more thing is that URL is a link. Okay, URL is a link that can be used to retrieve any kind of resource from the web, but a URN is not a link. We cannot create a clickable link through a URL. If we give that URL into the web address of your browser, you cannot able to specify or identify any resource. So this is the second difference. And the schemes are very important in case of URL. Whatever schemes you are using, it can be HTTP, it can be HTTPS or FTP. But this is all about the URI, URL, and URLs. Okay, so all the URLs can be URI, but all the URIs cannot be URL, because URI contains both URL and URL. So this thing, I noticed that in the activity practice, some of the questions are regarding that URI and URL, this kind of thing. So one part is the REST architecture, the second is this URI, URN. And is there something more concept that we can discuss on? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so is there anything you want to discuss upon, any concept regarding activity or practice? There is one question I can see is a JSON. It is on JSON. One question is on.
Ma'am, and can you cover the proxy part a little bit?
Which part?
The proxy. What is the proxy? The concept.
Okay, proxy.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so proxy server, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See, I just will give you one very basic. Let me share my screen. Okay, the same problem.
Can I explain it, Soman?
Yeah, ma'am. You can explain.
Yeah. So actually, proxy server means it is mainly for your security purpose. So what that security purpose is, for example, to safeguard your server, it will be this proxy server is available as a gateway for your server. Whatever request and responses are routed to this proxy server inspect of that server. So what URL you are specifying will not landed to that particular original server. Inspect of it, it will be landed and handled by the proxy server, and proxy server will request once again to the main server, that is the original server, and it will get the response and it will send the response back to the client. So why we are using this proxy server is uh, to to safeguard from the hackers or attackers, those who are trying to hack that particular server. So that is the use of this proxy server, and it is used to safeguard the original server. So that is the main use of proxy server, right? So whatever hacking or information that will be done only to the proxy server, original server will be preserved and it will not be affected. So what are the requests you
Okay,
are
so
sending to
ma'am,
the original? Yeah, tell me.
is it like a fake server? Uh,
And
is
not
it
fake
like a
server, it is a
cover up?
safeguarding. No, it is not a fake server. It is so for your organization also, you can represent this proxy server for to safeguard your original server. So that it is not a fake one. It will be like an intermediator between the client and then the original server. Whatever request you are sending to the original server will be landed first in the proxy server. Based on the request, it will get the response from the main server and it will send the response back to the client. Right. So it is not a fake server. It is used to safeguard the original server.
So it is to disconnect the direct connection with the server.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, correct.
And ma'am, what is the relation with proxy and IP address? Like I many times heard that some hacker they change their IP address, and if proxy is changed, something happens. So what is
Yeah,
the
very good
relation?
question. This is very good question. So that means that whenever you are updating your original server, proxy server will also get updated. At that time, the IP address mapping between the proxy server and then the server will also update it, right? So if you already you know that you can also reach the server either by using its IP address or by using its domain name using the URL. So this is the normal concept you have learned so far, right? So while you are
Yes, ma'am.
updating your server, automatically, so similar to WhatsApp also, if you see the encryption point between the you and someone else has been changed, right? So similar to that, the IP address updation will be changed by the DNS server for the original server. That will also impact the proxy server to change its IP address. But there will be a natting process. So what is natting process? It is an address translation, right? So network address translation. So what this natting process will do, whatever request is coming for the server, it will first make it to land it in the proxy server, and that proxy server will communicate. And what you have said, it will avoid direct communication and it will send the response back, right? So the natting process taking place between the proxy server and your main server. For that, we are updating the IP, and once the IP is updated, it will also get updated.
Okay, so ma'am, when we entered the domain name or the IP, so where the page landed, to proxy or to the main server? So suppose
If
we
they
type
are
google.com.
maintaining the proxy server, it will be landed to the proxy server only first. If they are not maintaining proxy server for their organization, it will be directly communicated to the server. But we normal in communication, what we will say, whatever request you are sending, it will be landed to the server only. We will not bring that proxy server into the place. Why? Because it is only for the security purpose. But real time, it is through the proxy server, it will enter into the original server. If the organization is not maintaining the proxy server, it's their own risk to get the request to the server directly and then send the response further, right? So that is not it will not always be risk. If there is any hackers who keep on trying to compromise the server, at that time it will be at risk. That's it, right? So proxy server is to provide security.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so any more thing to discuss on? Okay, if nothing to be discussed, then we can.
Yeah, ma'am. One more.
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly.
Firewall,
Yeah, your voice
firewall,
is
ma'am.
breaking. Yeah, you're speaking, but your voice is breaking in between.
I think you can send it some the question in chat box. We are ready to answer because your voice is breaking.
Yeah, whoever was asking the question, please can you type it on chat?
See, firewall is whatever. So this firewall is for whatever request that is coming, to block that request, and if, to verify whether it is genuine or not, then only it will send the request back into that organization. It to safeguard yourself from the external request. But proxy is to safeguard the server from the that is also from the proxy server is also doing the same, but the technology is different. Firewall, it will analyze each and every packet whichever is coming from the outside. It will monitor the packets and whether it is from the legible URL like HTTPS, and if you want to block HTTP, automatically you can configure the firewall according to that. So whatever the request from HTTP URL will be blocked. Similarly, if there is any other packets from the IP packets and all, it will verify the IP address and all. And if it is not valid, and if it is of something spam-like packets, automatically it will block it, right? So both are providing security, but the concept of visualization is different. That's it, right? So to avoid direct communication with the server, proxy takes place. Firewall from all the place, whatever packets that is entering into the organization. So for example, if you have created a server in your organization, for example, consider IITM, right? So IIT Madras is having its own server in its organization. Whatever requests from all over India or all over the world, whichever is coming, automatically this firewall will analyze all the packets and it will send only the request. But proxy server, whatever, so after firewall restriction only, the request will be landed to the proxy server. The meaning is proxy server is going to serve in spite of the original server. That's it, right? So that whatever you are going to get from the server, that will be served by the proxy server in the name of server. That's it. Firewall, it will monitor each and every packet whichever coming outside from towards your organization, And if there is any package that is not allowed, so if you are requesting for any other website which is not authenticated by the organization, that will also be restricted by the firewall, right? But proxy, that is not going to take place in proxy server. It will only do the job. Whatever request is for the server, it will respond inspect of the server. I think I have made it clear. I think so. Got it?
Yeah, I think he's clear now.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Amudala Bharat. Thank you.
Okay, so any more thing to ask? Any more questions? Okay.
I think the time is also up.
Yeah. I think we can wind off if
there is no other question.
Yeah. So if anyone want to ask now also, you can also post it on chat if you're unable to speak or your network connectivity is weak. So you can also post it on chat. We can also answer it in that way. And if there is nothing else, then we can wind up. Okay, so I think we can wait for 1 or 2 minutes and then we can close the session.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Ma'am, can you just quickly tell about the JSON object, just a little bit?
Okay, JSON object, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So see, JSON. If I talk about some points about JSON, quickly overview about JSON. JSON is what? JavaScript object notation. It is a format, right? It is a format in which you can notice that if you are requesting any request through the API endpoint, and if you are requesting to the server, the data which has come, which can we can notice from the back from the server is just in that format also, JSON format. So the data we are getting get backs, like look how it is related to JavaScript. We can notice that what JavaScript in that JSON, right? So the data we get back, we can notice one thing, that it looks remarkably like how we get JavaScript object. So had you created any JavaScript object earlier? Are you familiar with JavaScript?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. So see that the thing. So how we can in JavaScript, if you are creating an object where, say, let me share my screen, or just quickly share my screen. Yeah, okay. So see, so in JavaScript, what we do, we open how we create objects. See, word or let. This is a word. This is the name of that. This will be the name of that variable. And how we do? We open a set of curly braces and we close it. We have our key and value pairs, right? How we do that? Let's say we have my name. I have my ID. And some more details, some more info, right? Some more info. This is comma, yeah. So see, in JavaScript, basically, we create JavaScript objects like that. Okay, in which we are opening a set of curly braces. We have some key values, pairs which is separated by key value which is separated by colon, and key value pairs which are separated by the comma, right? And we can embed objects, right? we can also embed objects under objects in JavaScript. We can also object like we can also like this. Okay, we can also define another object here. So there are a couple of things which is very similar to the JSON format, right? If we talk about JSON format, this is the same, I think, very similar to the JSON format. But it talk about the differences, couple of differences though. For example, if we create an actual object in JavaScript, we always have a var keyword, right? This thing. This is the keyword which usually we use to initialize or define any kind of variable in JavaScript, right? So in the front, we will notice that the var or let keyword, which is not expected in the JSON format, right? We just write the name of the object without any kind of var or let keyword. Second is that in JSON format, we can see that without any quotation mark around it, all the object, we can see that we have a quotation, this as a quotation, this as a quotation. But here, we can here inside the JavaScript object, we can see that we are only giving the quotes mark in the string, the thing which are in string format. Only in that thing we are giving that quote mark. But in JSON, we can always see that the quotes thing is always everywhere, right? So these are the things. Now, the reason why we use JSON to this is the first aspect, right, of JSON. Now, why it is related to JavaScript. Second is that the reason why it is used to pass data around the internet is because first, it is very readable by human, readable by machines. It is very easily readable. It can. Second, it is very almost like a JavaScript object. Okay, and if someone is very familiar with it, they can easily recognize, okay, this is why this is called a JavaScript JSON. Okay, so these are the things we can tell about JSON. Okay, so we'll find that various APIs that will provide multiple format for you. So yeah, in addition with JSON also, you can also find that some format like XML, HTML, it is also expected output from the server. We can also expect this kind of thing, but JSON is very popular, and nowadays we can always see that JSON thing, the JSON format very rapidly growing, right? So yeah, it is also lightweight. Very thing we can discuss upon. So this is all about JSON. So are you clear with that?
Yeah, okay, ma'am. I got an idea.
Okay. Yeah, so any more queries? Yeah, okay, ma'am. I think we can wind up. Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.